Hello, friends! Let me tell you about my family's tradition of going to England every summer. Because my mom's British, I get the cool character backstory of being half British. Woohoo! So my mom's side of the family live primarily south of London, all within a few miles of each other. We visit them every year and I always bring home such fun, unique memories. And let me be the first to tell you that England is magical. That's right, this American has nothing but good things to say about that adorable little island. I mean until you get to the local vernacular, and then it's just hilarious. And I mean that in the most loving way possible. Every time I go out there, I end up learning a new phrase or word they like to use that sounds so foreign to me. For example, they ask me silly things like, "Does the queue start here?" And "Would you like fizzy or still water?" Or "After supper, you get your sweeties for pudding." A pudding means dessert. Like, it's not a pudding like it would be here in America. It's a word that means dessert over there. So when I come back to America, I'll bring the lingo home with me and accidentally call the trash can a rubbish bin. Or ask where the toilet is instead of the restroom. "Where's your toilet?" Oh man, England is both magical and hilarious. So each of our magical trips start with a grueling 7-hour plane ride. Since we usually book the red-eye flights, my siblings and I always make plans to burn off as much energy as we can the previous day so we can sleep the entire flight away. However, that never happens. We always get off the plane looking like groggy, annoyed, and severely jet-lagged zombies because we never sleep as planned. And by the time we get to wherever we're staying, we sleep the whole first day away. It's kind of a family tradition at this point. Anyways, the first few years we went out there, we stayed with my gran in her hobbit's den. Okay, it's not a literal hobbit's den, but it's close. It's a magical little house in the middle of an enchanted garden. At least that's how I've always perceived it. I have some memories of visiting this place when I was really little, and it's always had that same wonderful ambiance. It's also smack dab in the middle of a village that's full of way more modern looking houses, so the contrast feels like it's straight from a children's story. And even as adults, my siblings and I love to hang out in her backyard on slow days. We throw down some blankets and pass around the local newspaper, each of us taking a turn solving the daily crossword puzzle. That's one of the easiest ways we're able to connect to my gran. Crossword puzzles. My gran is an incredibly intelligent woman who destroys us at that kind of stuff. We usually end up giving her the rest of the puzzle to solve after we've all given a try. The other way we connect with my gran is just by sharing some wine with her at the pub. Sometimes she goes for whiskey when she's feeling punchy. I remember this time when we were having a drink together, she leaned over and told me she loved pretending to narrate what other people are saying to each other, and then proceeded to pretend like a woman sitting near us was breaking up with her husband. She and I laughed and did the voices for that couple who were just having lunch and minding their own business. Oh man, it was funny. Gran's awesome. Oh, and she's 93 as of this narration. I love hanging out with my gran. She also has this really neat koi pond that one of our younger cousins loved to help maintain when he was about 8 years old. Oh man, this story. So this one time I had jokingly picked up my cousin and faked throwing him into the pond, but he actually thrashed so hard he fell out of my arms and into the pond. It wasn't really a big deal because the pond is only about 1.5 feet deep, but my cousin ran with his arms flailing to his mother, my aunt, and blamed me for the whole ordeal. Of course, I was still panic laughing next to the pond, so it didn't really look good on my end, but my gran snickered like a wicked old witch from her couch in the background. It kind of made it a beautiful moment, aside from the child trauma and everything. I'm just kidding, he doesn't remember it ever happened. That was the same summer I also said the word pants. Like, you know, pants you would wear. But that same little cousin got really upset because pants over there is like a nonsensical word for underwear. So when he went to go tell on me, his mom was like, "Oh no, sweetheart, she meant trousers." It was so cute. So anyways, we had to find somewhere else to stay next summer because we're all a bunch of giants and Amazonians. But before I get into the next year, that reminds me. I learned pretty early on that British people have one phrase that always takes me off guard. "Are you alright?" It gets me every time. "Hello, love. You alright?" And it always confuses me so much. I'm like, yeah, I've never been better, what's up? But then that leaves them looking all confused. And I've learned that when they ask me, "Are you alright?" it's kind of like asking, "How are you?" Because you're supposed to respond with a very passive agreement like, "Yeah," or "I'm fine, thanks." For the longest time, I would respond a little defensively like, "Yeah, of course, sorry, I didn't mean to look annoyed or anything, I'm just zoning out." And they'd look at me like, "Okay, kid, geez, I didn't need your whole life story." I fall for it every time, I swear. So anyways, that resulted in us borrowing my uncle's RV, which they affectionately call a camper van. The camper van trips were so much fun. We parked the van outside my grand's house right next to the front door, so it was like a temporary extension to her house. My little sister and I bunked in it while my brother stayed inside the house, and because England's summers are so moderate, it never got too hot or too cold. These are some of my favorite times in England because I have such fun, vivid memories of them. We would walk down to the village shop, which to me is more like an American gas station, and do a grocery run for our tiny fridge. British candies, also known as sweeties, are the best and nobody can convince me otherwise. We would always make sure to be stocked up throughout the trips. We made sure to have Scotch eggs, meat pies, cheese and pickle sandwiches. Listen, I love British food. I don't care what anyone says. That year, we also joined a tug-of-war team for one of our local pubs. They competed in a tug-of-war challenge at the local village fete, and let me tell you, while my siblings and I have never been into sports, we took that responsibility like we were all-stars in some national league. We rolled up to that fete like we were the ringers they had been looking for. They gazed back at our 6-foot-plus American selves with so much determination. At least they did to my brothers. My sister and I kinda sucked. But my brothers helped the pub's team take down every single team that went against them. They celebrated with a few rounds of drinks, and now we're famous in those parts. Just kidding, I like to actively pretend like we are though. I am glad that we got to bring honor to that pub's name. They have a killer goat's cheese salad that's just literally a wheel of goat's cheese on top of approximately 4 leaves, and I have zero problems with that. So we stayed in that camper van for a couple of years until we discovered this adorable little hidden gem down the lane. When we came back the next year, we stayed at a teensy tiny little inn about half a mile away from my grand's house. It's a beautiful little pub that's overrun by foliage and greenery. Think of the word home and you've nailed the vibe. It's fully owned and maintained by Bill, an adorable old sage who cooked us breakfast when we stayed with him. Since I don't have any living grandfathers, I've adopted him as my own. This inn is exactly something you'd picture in an Elder Scrolls or Dungeons & Dragons type game. Oh my goodness, it's perfect. On the first level, it's an old-fashioned, charming little pub with a typical bar and tables for when they're serving food, and if you go toward the back, you're led to a door that leads to the stairs that leads to a whole whopping 5 rooms. Each room was super small, only big enough for a bed and a dresser, and that made it so much more cozy. We would spend most of our days out and about, but of course, as the crushingly introverted person I am, my favorite part was always coming back to those rooms every night. I would start hearing and feeling the pub grow livelier through the floorboards as the evening progressed, and I truly felt like I was an adventurer in a real D&D setting. So this one night, we all felt adventurous enough to consider joining the lively bar scene downstairs and chatting it up with the locals. That didn't actually happen though because we're all too awkward to talk to anybody aside from Grandpa Bill, who served us a round of ciders. We sat at a table and made direct eye contact with the locals who couldn't stop staring at us for about 17 minutes before retreating back to our rooms. As extroverted as we like to act, we are nerds to the core. So the fact that this inn is so close to my grand's house is such a huge plus for us. We're able to walk back and forth whenever we needed to. One time, my brothers and sister were walking back to my grand's house at night. My sister was scared of the dark, so my brother lovingly made up a story to scare her even more. He told an improv story about how a mutated creature named Foxboy lived nearby, and on really dark and quiet nights, you can hear him gasping for breath. It sounds so stupid, but when my brother started imitating this creature he made up, he kind of got on all fours and made this weird position and started hopping after us, and it was 1,000 times funnier than it was scary. Oh man, sorry, this story just makes me laugh every time I tell it. I guess it's just extra hilarious to me because my grandma's neighbors are probably like, oh god, there go her American grandkids again. So anyways, since my grandma lives so far away from everything, we decided we wanted to uproot and stay somewhere else next year. So in 2019, we found a really cute little Airbnb in one of our favorite little towns, Arundel. Our Airbnb had everything we needed. It was next to the train station, and it had a co-op for groceries next door. Oh yeah, and it also had an amazing view of Arundel's landmark castle. This Airbnb was a slim, tall house built between 2 other buildings. It had 3 floors, and each of us giants had a hard time squeezing up the staircase. Staying here was a big load off my mom's shoulders. When we stayed with Gran, she spent a lot of her time shuffling us back and forth between places in her tiny car. Those, of course, are such fun times, but this trip really gave us an independent experience because we had to learn how to use the train. Using the train is something my siblings and I never really do back in America, so it made me realize just how important this mode of transportation is for this country. This was a really special trip because we were all able to bring our partners along, so we all got to explore the little pubs and stores together. Our whole party would wander up and down the street, scrambling to find cafes with free Wi-Fi so we can catch some British Pokemon in Pokemon Go. That summer was so unusually hot, so our party went from store to store looking for floor fans. Since central cooling isn't really a thing most homes have, we would spend a lot of time in stores just meandering. I think we all looked forward to going home at the end of the night to cool off and play video games. Another fun tradition we have involved meeting at my uncle's house and ordering Indian takeaway while hanging out in their amazing backyard. It's pretty much the meeting spot for the whole family, at least one time every trip, and I always look forward to chatting at the adult table with my aunts and uncle. These moments have me so appreciative of just how lucky I am to experience this privilege and reflect on how much work everyone puts into these trips. I'm always so humbled by their efforts and blessed to be a part of such a wonderful family. They're the reason I'm able to take home an awesome bundle of core memories, treasured experiences, and super weird chips, or crisps, that you'd never find here. Did you know Lay's makes a prawn cocktail flavor? Did you know that they call shrimp prawn? Anyways, it's amazing. Also, they're crisps, not chips. Chips are fries. England is my home away from home, and I feel just as comfortable over there as I do here in the US. The food is awesome, the summer temperature is amazing, and they let their cashiers sit while working at the register. Come on, America, get with the times! Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and do something good for someone today.